welcome to today's episode of Heard and Seen Around. I am Rajesh Karipurat. This is my take on macroeconomic and geoeconomic data points which I find interesting. I hope you enjoy watching it as much as I enjoyed curating it. Cheers.
Be yourself is terrible advice if you're in customer service. If everything happens for a reason, I'd like to meet the intern who's writing my script. This time it's different, the four most expensive words in finance. We call it a correction when we lose money slowly enough to write about it. Consultant, someone who borrows your watch to tell you the time and sends an invoice for it.
October just became the scariest month for US workers since 2003, and not because of Halloween. Companies announced the highest layoffs in over 2 decades, led by tech and warehousing. Turns out when AI meets tight margins and cautious consumers, the result isn't innovation, it's termination. We are moving from low hire, low fire to low hire, high fire, or at least that is a fear, the corporate equivalent of skipping lunch and firing the chef. Firms are trimming headcounts faster than spreadsheets can update, all in the name of efficiency. China's trade machine just hit up a speed bump. October's export and import growth both stalled, and while that's seasonal, it hints at something bigger. The goods surplus looks set to stabilize, at around $1.2 trillion. That's not a surplus, that's a saving account with performance anxiety. For context, this is like exporting your way to record profits while your domestic demand takes a long nap. The world wants less of what China is selling, and China is still selling more of it. It's the economic equivalent of shouting into a quiet room and hearing your own echo. Tesla shareholders just handed Elon Musk a $1 trillion pay package. Yes, trillion with a T. Over 75% voted in favor, making Musk the first person who could literally become a trillionaire by commuting to work. To cash in, he needs to pump Tesla's market value even higher, fix the wobbly car business, and turn robo-taxis from sci-fi into cash flow. In short, he's being paid to make the future happen faster, preferably before the next earnings call. Tesla's market cap is nearly brushing $1.5 trillion. Not bad for a company that sells fewer cars than Toyota, but more dreams than Hollywood. Germany may still be the land of precision and punctuality, but its economy seems to be running a bit late. The US now produces about 1.6 times more wealth per person than Germany, and by 2030 the gap's expected to hit 1.7. In 2009, the difference was smaller, just 1.4. Since then, the US has kept sprinting while Germany's been quite politely walking. Rising energy costs, aging demographics, and over-regulations has turned Europe's economic engine into more of a hybrid, quiet, but not exactly fast. As Einstein, a German by the way, once said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. If you are hunting for bargains in Indian equities, pack some patience. Most sectors that led the post-COVID bull run, like capital goods and consumer durables, now look as stretched as a Diwali waistband. The real deals, a few lonely corners like financial services and IT, where about 25% and 11% of companies still trade in their bargain zone. Everything else, fully priced, overcooked, and serving a limited margin of safety. Every few years, someone writes an obituary for India's IT sector, and every few years it refuses to die. Sure, growth has slowed and visibility is foggy, but the numbers aren't tragic, just tired. Margins have held up for 3 years, even as revenues hit snooze. The AI froth that's inflated global tech valuations hasn't reached Indian shores yet. And maybe that's not a bad thing. After all, Indian IT has weathered these transitions before, from Y2K to cloud, and each time it's evolved and not expired. Central banks have been on a gold buying binge since 2022, the kind of spree that would make even Fort Knox blush. But in 2025, the sparkle's dimming a bit. In the first 9 months alone, they bought around 634 tons, still hefty, but clearly the enthusiasm's cooling. The message? Central banks aren't dumping gold, they're just slowing the shopping cart. But here's the catch. The same demand that held prices up last year may not be enough to keep them glittering this year. As Warren Buffett quipped, gold gets dug out of the ground, then we melt it down, bury it again, and pay people to stand around guarding it. India's economy has undergone a quiet revolution. 50 years ago, we were mostly a nation of farmers. Today, it's a services sector and not the soil that's driving the growth story. Agriculture's share in jobs has fallen from nearly 75% to under 45%, while services now dominate both employment as well as GDP. The twist, manufacturing, the so called bridge between farms and offices, seems to have taken a long tea break. Despite policy pushes, its share has barely budged. So, yes, Indian workers are leaving the land, but most aren't landing in factories. They are logging into service jobs instead. That shift reshapes not just the economy, but India's social fabric.